Folks, forgive my head cold, but I've got to get these tutorials up. This particular one was a commission that I had in 2018. The filming of this was the first filming that I attempted before I knew a little better what I was doing. This was a diptych, and a definition of a diptych is a pair of pictures, two panels, usually hinged together. I did a variation on that theme, and these are not equal. The one to the right is 30 by 60, and the one to the left, which is perpendicular to it, is 24 by 48. Right now, I am laying this in with a graphite, a soft graphite, about a 6B. And you notice I continually look up at my thumbnails. Since this was a commission, it was a special request. Actually, the client who hired me to do this had seen my work nearly 30 years prior back in Central Texas. Her husband was stationed at Fort Hood Army Base, and I had done a series of public service billboards with wildflowers on them that I signed my name. She recognized my name 30 years later when we both wound up living in Middle Tennessee. Go figure. It's a small world. Anyway, she had seen my thistles before, and that's what she wanted, were thistles. I did 3 different thumbnails and center. And then I decided on doing these that I would pull a little bit from each one of those thumbnails. So even though I know where I'm going with this, I have a plan. I will continue to refer back to my comps, my thumbnails, to stay on track, because that's what she's seen, and I'll try and do a facsimile of that. I also chose not to go into detail about my supplies and materials, all the things that I'm using. I've got that in a separate a separate video. I have the supplies and materials in a separate video. And I'll tell you the brands and the proportions and the articles that I'm using. So if you want all that information, you can go there. But right now I'm diffusing that graphite, trying to keep my drawing, get a feel for it. And all of this is going to wind up getting covered up. None of this is actually going to show. It's going to be under. But it helps me to, this step helps me to have a good feel for the arrangement on the 2 pieces. Now I've added a little pigment, and since my thistles are going to end up being purple, this is a complementary color. And you will hear me in every one of my tutorials talk about color theory, color wheel, and complementary colors. I utilize it. I strongly recommend that you learn it. Complementary color of purple is yellow. I'm not using a pure yellow, obviously. I put a little purple in it, and so it turns golden, but it's warm. And I continue to diffuse. This piece is going on in a particular area. It was done to go up a staircase. The lady works in an office on the 2nd story, so she will be passing this painting a number of times a day. So part of the reason I'm doing this is to really build up a beautiful surface. It'll be viewed from far off. The only way you can see it up close is going up the staircase. But I wanted to have many, many layers in this. So hopefully every day she might make a new discovery within the painting. Now I'm beginning to lay in texture. And as I said, almost everything that I drew is going to get covered up. But I know it's there, and I know where it is. And I'm placing this texture in a way that will emphasize the prickly nature of the thistles. This painting was worked on over more than weeks. It was actually several months. So there were times that I would have to leave it before I had a chance to work on it again. Part of that was the difficulty in getting it filmed. This is using a borrowed camera. The camera had to go back to the owner, who then downloaded the footage, sent it back to me, along with a fresh disc. It was a royal pain. But until I had my own camera, this is what I had to do. But I really wanted to record the process on this painting, because I'm working this slightly differently than my own piece. And when I'm doing my own piece, I don't have to keep referring back to the comps. I will do it like this. I will do it in steps. And most times I don't have this much of a predetermined plan, especially when I'm working abstracts. I will go into the studio. The most I might predetermine is the size of the painting and maybe the color scheme for the day. And when I was painting daily in my studio, I haven't done that actually for a couple of years now. My grandkids have come to live with me, and I'm very active in their daily routines. So my time is not my own. But oh mercy, that's why I have a call. My grandson shares what he picks up at daycare. Oh. Anyway, when I'm working on things that I want to do, sometimes I'll have several large canvases going at one time, so they have similar and related color schemes, just because that's what I've got going. And I'll have several of them going at one time because I might be laying in some heavy texture, and because of the nature of acrylics and the way that I like to work, I like to layer lots of layers, lots of colors, lots of contrasting colors. And for that to successfully happen, the previous layer needs to be dry. So I will have several canvases being laid out. So when one gets too wet and everything starts blending and getting muddy, I will switch and go to the next canvas, and then the next canvas. And that works up to a point, and then I begin to hone in and begin to slow down a little bit and fine tune and that process is a little bit slower, and therefore the areas have more of a chance to dry, so then I can concentrate on a single piece. Let me give you a heads up. You need to listen. You need a little bit later. My grandson comes in, he's looking at it, and he says, "Is that messed up?" He's only 4. Okay, what does he know about abstract, right? Anyway, I plan to do a lot more abstracts in the future, a lot more tutorials concerning them. But if you've viewed my first 2 tutorials on my channel, my full-length tutorials, you will have noticed that those are watercolor and they're fairly realistic. So that might seem a little confusing to you as to what the focus of this channel is all about. It's about painting. It's about creativity. It's about making a better painting. Whether you're doing a watercolor, whether you're doing a barn in the traditional manner, whether you're doing a diptych of thistles of all things in an abstract manner. All of it, I hope, will contain useful information for you in one way or another. You may hear me talk about things at 180 degrees from what you've heard elsewhere. Take everything with a grain of salt, people. Use what is useful to you and disregard the rest. This is not follow my every single step, obviously on abstracts. That's a little hard to do. On the more realistic pieces, yes. And I will be doing 10 more watercolor tutorials for my folks on a monthly basis. So those will be coming out. But I've got one in the works for ACEOs. I've got another one in the works. I had my paintings on display in a restaurant, as many of us artists do. We're looking for avenues, areas to display our work. Well, the place burned. And I assumed they had insurance, and I guess they assumed I had insurance. And I'm going to talk about that, you know, the mistakes, the problems, the goofs, as well as the successes. Folks, you learn from your mistakes. In art, it makes your paintings richer and better. So many of the folks they've been painting a long time, you don't see their mistakes. They only show you the ones that work. I'm going to be a little more vulnerable than that, I hope, and honest as far as being vulnerable to show you. But hopefully it'll help you grow and learn. Okay, now this... Lost some footage in there, one of the steps, but just trust me, I layer, and I went back with a darker version, not necessarily black. I don't like to use black, but I will combine multiple colors to make a dark. I just splattered. I don't know if you caught that or not. I had a big wide brush and I just slung some paint onto it. But my darks, this one was that looks like it's a grayish black, was actually purple, and I had a Viridian green, might have been some red, and I used that to go back in and redefine my drawings. Now I'm beginning to put the purple in. Put it on, take it off. I'm wiping and diffusing that, moving it around. These two pieces are C-clamped together. When this is finished, and that's on the other video, I will check my edges and the middle area. I will go back and continue the painting. Now we're almost finished. Also, because of the quality of the thistle and to have a thorny feel, here's some close-ups I also used some craft paint, some puff paint on here and drew. But this will give you an idea of the surface quality. There's a lot of stuff that's going on in here. And I'm pretty close up. So like I said, I wanted to give her lots of things to see, lots of areas of interest.
Is that messed up?
No, it's supposed to be like that. No, don't touch that. Don't touch that. Okay, let it play.
Okay.
You can watch.
I watch on.
So that was my grandson helping me edit. All right, so here's some stills of the detailing at the end. It's very rich in texture. I've got some slow motion here to also show. There's that puff paint. Gives it a very spiky feel. And I could draw with it. I could really push the bottles. You grab them and you draw. You press on them and they... so it's very linear. But like I said, I really wanted the texture to be rich and for her to have areas of discovery all the time in different lights. There's your finished piece. And I'll take that apart and I will finish out the edges all around. And again, that is in the companion video where I talk about a little more of the technical detail of it. But if you made it this far, folks, I try and put stuff into these videos that can help you hopefully make a better painting. Maybe some tricks, some trade secrets, some hints and ideas. Just something. I hope you take something away from these that can be useful to you. And I will continue. Please make comments down in the comment section and let me know what you think. If you want to see something in particular, I'm just in my infancy doing these things. I'll be doing these regularly, I hope, on a lot of different subjects, as well as trying to do some live painting. I hope you'll continue to watch. Thanks.